I'm Dustin Perry. I'm the CEO of Kingfisher Metals. We're focused on copper gold exploration in Northwest BC in the Golden Triangle. Small cap junior with excellent upside potential, chasing the next sulfur district that KSM and two-year-old Treaty Creek are located in.
Dustin, good to see you, man. Right. That's that intro. You're petering out at the end there. I don't know if it's the sound here or not, but look, you had a bit of a late start to last year because you switched projects over. You found something good, you believe, and we're going to talk about it today. Why the late start?
We picked up, or we entered into a 4-year option agreement to earn 100% of 2 projects. So we consolidated a large porphyry epithermal district in the Golden Triangle. We had to go through a lot of data over the summer, had to raise money, which wasn't easy last summer. You know, the bulk of that money came in fairly early, but I wanted to get a little bit more. So we extended it a little longer. The financing didn't start drilling until about August 15th. So, you know, we were really drilling at the tail end of the season, so we couldn't get as much done. It's a little more expensive, but, you know, our hypothesis that we're onto a big copper gold porphyry system here or district held true, and hit some nice step out intercepts and drilled Undercover for the first time on this project and hit what you'd expect when looking for one of these big deposits.
Well, it hit what most people hope, I think. Not everyone hits. So tell us about the asset that you picked up and the data package that you picked up, and you know why you're able to come up with a hypothesis about what might be there.
Yeah. So this project came to us from Origin royalties that had the larger project area, and then an inlier within it is what used to actually be a Barrick project that Golden Ridge Resources had, and that's the Hank project that had so at Hank you had a pretty substantial Brucejack age epithermal system with really good intercepts, historic drilling at the 20 meters of 12 grams. At Williams, which is the porphyry they discovered, you've got grades up to, sorry, my phone is going off. I forgot to turn it off. Turn that off. At Williams, you've got another porphyry with, I think around 350 meters of 0.9 gold equivalent in a porphyry. And then at Mary, which is what we focused on last year, you got a lot of drilling. The last drill intercept was 290 meters of 0.7 gold equivalent. We did a step out from there and drilled a little lower grade, but really broad, 438 meters of 0.43 gold equivalent. Not all the project was permitted when we got it. There was about 40,000 meters of historic drilling. So, you know, we're still going through all that. The part that wasn't permitted will be permitted for this drill program. So it's not it's a big challenge to sort through a big project like this, but it's where you want to be in the Golden Triangle. Our vice president of exploration, Gail Febo, she did her master's degree at KSM for Seabridge. And we've got the same ages of mineralization on this project, the same scale to alteration, same style of mineralization, exact same geological setup if you've got something like Brucejack or Hank next to porphyry deposits. So that, and Charlie Gregg's involved. He's definitely been around the Golden Triangle more than pretty much any other geologist. So we've got the right geologists on this that have verified everything. And we're at the early stages of this, the process of really proving that we are onto a district. But I would say what we did last summer looks very good.
Right. Okay. So you've got a few targets there, but you thought there's something about Mary that kind of drew you, attracted. I know, too much, right? Which drew you to it, and you thought, well, this is going to be the best allocation of capital. And I think that kind of press release that came out with that kind of very significant intercept with, I say comparable grades to that of some of the peers that the companies that you've mentioned, and you hope you appear at some point. You kind of got something in at the end of last summer. So did you feel you just needed to get at it? It was slightly more expensive because the weather was changing, etc. But what do you think what information did that give you in terms of informing what the next drill program looks like?
Yeah, so I'll just jump through here to where we're at. So I just talked about what was permitted and what wasn't. The Origin option here, this ground was available for drilling. The Golden Ridge option here was not permitted when we acquired the project. We will have that permit in time for the field program. So the entirety of the whole area will be permitted. So with that in mind, if we wanted to go out and drill, we couldn't focus on the whole project. We had to pick and choose where we wanted to drill. And the Mary Trend is what was permitted. And within the Mary Trend, you actually have potentially the largest outcropping porphyry system. But part of it is obscured by cover. So what we wanted, our belief, nobody had the cojones to go drill undercover there with all the historic drilling. There must have been about 12,000 meters of historic drilling there, and some nice intercepts, some actual pretty good grades of copper in areas. But in general, you're high up in the system, like you see at some other deposits that have recently been discovered. For example, Seabridge in their Iskut area up there around Snip. They've found a new porphyry camp by the looks of it. But you get a lot more gold relative to copper. You need to get deep into these systems, and evidence for that would be the alteration, but also we drilled a 3 meters of over 800 grams per ton silver vein. You're not getting that in the guts of a porphyry system. You're getting that out kind of in that halo, the gold rich halo. So based on what we've seen with drilling and all the other indicators, geophysics, geochemistry, and just geology, we set out to go prove that with a drill hole undercover and hit it on a one step out. So if I just jump down here, we hit one step out where we collared in cover, and then we drilled on the other edge of cover a full kilometer away and hit pretty anomalous gold grades. You can see that there's a continuous chargeability anomaly underneath cover. So it's basically a thin, at times it goes a little deeper to a couple hundred meters, but it's a big area that's been obscured, if you look at, the best way to look at it is you're just looking at a mountain right here, and you see alteration all the way around the mountain, and then there's a dead zone on top where the geochemistry kind of disappears, not a lot of alteration. And right up to the edge of it, though, it picks up. So we drilled underneath it for the first time, showed that it is part of a large porphyry system, and there's a full kilometer of space in between here now to fill in. So it looks to us like we're onto a massive porphyry system with this particular target, but there's many other targets on the project. You got to go through them, prioritize them, which might change things with part of the project becoming permitted for this year. But I would say we did what we set out to do, is show that this project has a lot of room to grow.
Right. Okay. So you came back with this. I keep referencing it because it's 438 meters of 0.43. It is of a certain type, and you describe others that have something similar here, but for them to get to where they are now, they've had to raise a ton of money. Now, it's been a really, really difficult market for gold, precious metals for the last 3 years, and equities more broadly. You're going to have to kind of get quite cute and quite clever. So either headlines like that go and attract certain types of investors. We might say, well, actually, I'll come in at asset level, or because otherwise you kind of dilute the heck out of the company, or you JV on this particular project, the Mary Trend, or a bunch of other ideas, which I'm sure you're discussing, but maybe you want to wait until after the next drill program is done. So, how do you think about these things? What do you guys talk about, and how do these things, ever kind of, get into fruition?
Well, yeah, it's a challenge balancing, results that might move the needle versus results that will actually move the project forward. At Hank, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit on a high-grade epithermal system. We'd like to put some drill holes into that. Not twinning results, but testing new ideas where we might be able to get a fatter intercept with different drill orientations and basically just using structural geology, which hasn't been that well employed historically there. So that could help us get the share price up. But at the same time, drilling holes like we did didn't change our share price, but it sure as hell opened the opportunity for a big discovery in our eyes. So you kind of have to balance what's moving the project forward geologically with what might actually attract a bit more investor attention and hopefully lead to less dilutive financings in the future. For the time being, I don't want a partner on this. We're entering into 100%. We would like to keep that. We're around a $6 million company right now, and we've got potentially one of the biggest porphyry districts in the Golden Triangle right now, and a pathway to earn 100% of it. So I would say if we can hold out a little longer, if the market picks up steam, I think this is a great place to be on this project.
Right. Okay. No. I hear you, but it's just like it's interesting the way that different teams think about solving those problems. So dilution seems to worry people excessively at the obviously early stages, and giving away the upside worries people equally as well. So small companies trying to do big projects sometimes need a bit of help, and they kind of carve up the portfolio accordingly. So it's there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. It's just a case of finding a path forward.
Matt, I will add to that dilution. Nobody wants dilution, but with our shareholder roster being so high on the institutional front.
Yeah, what does the shareholder look like? Who's in?
So commodity capital, they're in. Plethora Precious Metals, they're in. Alex Gubbins out of Peru is our biggest shareholder. Crescat Capital, Lowell Natural Resources, they're our most recent institutional investor. EMX Royalty still has a strategic investment. So I would say it's a pretty unusually high. That combined there is well over 50%. What I just listed off.
But is that part of the problem in the sense there's not much liquidity? Those guys aren't cashing in anytime soon.
No, that could be part of the problem. But you look at other companies with their pure retail, and they don't have a ton of liquidity either. Most people aren't selling. I'm not selling anything in my portfolio these days, partly because I didn't have a lot of wins last year, so I can't offset it. But also, I think everything's going to go up. So.
Or people don't want to realize losses, because there will be losses too, for sure. There's only mergers and disposals and all sorts of wonderful things going on out there. Okay, so you think you obviously feel that you're kind of really onto something, and you got a couple of hypotheses going as well. You mean gold market 2024? You're talking to a bunch of your institutional shareholders. They're going, no, we'll back you, but they must also have a view on, is gold going to do something this year?
I think we all share that view. I don't have a crystal ball. I can just go off what other more educated market commentary says. I hope it does. Gold price is already really high, though.
But so are costs, right? Yeah. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, the costs are high.
Margins haven't effectively changed.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm thinking about big funds looking in, people ready to deploy capital. They're waiting for a message, and I'm not quite sure what that message is. And in the meantime, mining suffering, but c'est la vie. Well, look, okay, look, I'm really kind of keen to hear about the specific plans and the modeling around the drilling for this year and how you go about that, and presumably going to raise a little bit of capital to kind of get you going, and hopefully more results of more of the same, quite frankly, is what you want. So what's the timing of all of the above?
I'm not sure of timing for a raise. It's going to have to happen, obviously, before we start the field program. We are currently going through everything. I was actually just doing stuff before we had this call, going through historic information. So I think in broad terms, what you could expect for a program this year is us following up on what you see right here and hoping to, hit a real big home run there. And, you talked about other the companies in the area that have had to raise a ton of money and drill a ton of holes. A good example, though, with a recent success would just be what happened with Hercules Silver. Like one drill hole and they're up, whatever, close to 10x. They've got a massive investment from a major. So all it takes is one drill hole. And this is pretty similar, actually. You've got upper level high epithermal veins. You've got pretty high level mineralization. You've got a huge chargeability anomaly undercover. So, we've got opportunities for more than one of these. There's this, but there's also at our Hank trend where there's a high grade epithermal system, another big porphyry deposit there. So there's room for other discoveries of blind porphyries, but also putting together a large epithermal system. And at the current share price, it's kind of mind-boggling in my eyes when I look at other companies in the area that have nothing and are still a similar valuation.
Well, Dustin, I appreciate you coming on and sharing this. I think we're going to try and hook up at PDAC as well. Sort of see if obviously things will have advanced a little bit. You've got a clearer view about how you want to proceed. But yeah, as you say, you're potentially onto something quite big here. It feels like there's a lot coming out of the hole there. So stay in touch. I'll speak to you soon.
Sounds good. Have a good one, Matt.